Planning a vacation. Chapter 1. Planning the trip. There's something uniquely thrilling about planning a vacation. The anticipation of new places, the chance to explore, and the idea of stepping away from daily routines for a while. As I began to plan my trip, I realized there was a lot to consider. So many details needed attention, but each step felt like I was getting closer to this amazing journey. With a notebook and pen in hand, I started the journey of planning my vacation. The first thing I had to decide was my destination. This sounds easy, but with so many fascinating places to explore, narrowing it down took time. I had a few ideas in mind. Perhaps I would visit a vibrant city filled with history and culture, or maybe I would go for a peaceful beach getaway. I had to think about what I wanted out of this trip. Was I in the mood for adventure and sightseeing, or did I just want to relax? After weighing my options, I decided on a coastal city with a mix of historical landmarks and beautiful beaches. The destination was perfect, a blend of relaxation and exploration. Once I'd chosen my destination, I needed to figure out when to go. This part required me to check my calendar and consider the best season to visit. I wanted to make sure I'd have pleasant weather and enough time to enjoy the trip without feeling rushed. I checked the typical weather patterns for the time of year, making sure that I'd be avoiding any monsoon or storm season. With that in mind, I settled on a date in late spring, perfect for warm weather without too much heat. Next came booking flights and accommodations. I opened my laptop, looking through travel sites and comparing ticket prices to find the best deal. Flights can vary widely in price, so it's essential to do a bit of research. I looked at a few different airlines, checked if there were any extra fees for things like baggage, and finally booked my flight. Getting the flight sorted felt like a big step forward, making the trip feel even more real. With flights booked, I moved on to accommodation. I had a choice between hotels, vacation rentals, and hostels. Hotels offered more privacy and comfort, but vacation rentals often gave a more local experience. I scrolled through several listings, checking out photos and reading reviews. It was important to find somewhere safe, comfortable, and ideally located near attractions or public transport. After some consideration, I decided on a small, charming bed and breakfast. It seemed perfect, quaint, affordable, and close to the city center. One of the best parts of planning is creating an itinerary. I made a list of all the places I wanted to see and things I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to overschedule myself, but I also didn't want to miss out on any must-see spots. I listed down the major landmarks, historic sites, local markets, and scenic viewpoints. I even found a few lesser-known places, like hidden cafes and art galleries, to visit. My itinerary wasn't a rigid schedule, but more of a guide. This way, I could stay flexible and spontaneous, but still have an idea of where to go each day. In addition to sightseeing, I wanted to plan some specific activities. I researched local festivals, guided tours, and outdoor activities available in the area. I found a local cooking class where I could learn about regional dishes as well as a boat tour along the coast, which sounded like the perfect way to enjoy the scenery. I also noted some hiking trails and bike rentals for outdoor exploration. These activities would add variety to my trip, making each day feel new and exciting. While planning the itinerary, I realized it would be wise to look into transportation options at my destination. Would I need to rent a car, or could I rely on public transport? After some research, I found that the city had an excellent bus and metro system. This would save me money and let me experience the city like a local. I downloaded a map of the public transportation routes and also checked if I could purchase a pass for multiple days. Preparing for transportation ahead of time would help me avoid confusion when I arrived. Another crucial part of the planning was budgeting. Vacations can be expensive, so it's important to set a budget and stick to it. I listed the main expenses: flight, accommodation, food, activities, and a small amount for shopping and souvenirs. I also set aside an emergency fund just in case something unexpected happened. With a clear budget, I felt more prepared and in control of my finances. Once my itinerary and budget were in place, I focused on travel essentials. I created a packing list, making sure to include comfortable clothes, walking shoes, a hat, and sunscreen for sunny days, as well as a light jacket for cooler evenings. I also made a list of travel-sized toiletries, including toothpaste, shampoo, and any other items I'd need daily. Since I didn't want to overpack, I limited myself to essentials and a few extras. I also made sure to check the airline's luggage policy, just to avoid any surprise fees. In addition to clothes and toiletries, I thought about important travel documents. I double-checked my passport to ensure it was valid and made copies of it just in case. I also checked if I'd need a visa or any other documentation to enter the country. As a final step, I took note of my travel insurance details, which would be helpful if I needed medical assistance or help with lost luggage. Having all my documents organized gave me peace of mind. Finally, I downloaded a few apps to make my trip easier. A translation app would come in handy for any language barriers, while a currency converter would help me keep track of spending. I also downloaded an offline map of the area, so I wouldn't have to rely on internet access all the time. These small preparations made me feel more confident about navigating a new place. With all the planning done, I began to feel a sense of excitement and anticipation. I could picture myself strolling through the streets, trying new foods, and soaking in the atmosphere. Knowing that I had prepared thoroughly allowed me to focus on the joy of the journey ahead. Every little detail I'd considered now felt like it would contribute to a smooth, enjoyable vacation. In the days leading up to my departure, I double-checked my plans, revisiting my itinerary and confirming my bookings. I contacted my bank to let them know I'd be traveling, just to avoid any issues with my credit card abroad. I also updated my friends and family on my plans, sharing my itinerary with them as a safety measure. Taking these last few steps helped me feel fully prepared, knowing that everything was in place. Chapter 2: going on the trip. The day had finally arrived, and I could hardly contain my excitement. After all the careful planning and anticipation, it was time to begin my journey. My bags were packed, my checklist was complete, and I had a warm feeling in my heart knowing that this vacation would be a chance to relax, explore, and create memories. I left my house with a deep breath, feeling ready to embrace whatever adventures awaited me. The journey began with a cab ride to the airport. Sitting in the back seat, I gazed out the window as familiar streets and landmarks rolled by. There was a sense of calm that came over me, knowing that I was leaving behind my routine, even if just for a little while. I arrived at the airport with plenty of time to spare, which was a relief. I didn't want to feel rushed. The airport buzzed with activity, a blend of travelers from all walks of life, each with their own story and destination. After going through security and finding my gate, I treated myself to a coffee and a light snack. I settled into a cozy spot, glancing around and soaking in the excitement of travel. The anticipation was infectious. As I waited for my boarding call, I double-checked my carry-on bag, making sure I had my essentials: passport, boarding pass, headphones, a book, and a few snacks for the flight. These small rituals, though simple, felt like part of the adventure. Once on board the plane, I found my seat by the window. I always choose the window seat. There's something magical about watching the world below, shrinking into a patchwork of fields, cities, and clouds. The plane began to taxi down the runway, and I felt a thrill of exhilaration as it lifted into the sky. The hum of the engines, the gentle tilt as we ascended, and the soft glow of sunlight streaming through the windows created a serene atmosphere. It was the perfect start to my vacation. The flight was smooth, and I spent most of it reading, listening to music, and glancing out the window whenever a new landscape appeared below. Before I knew it, the announcement came that we were beginning our descent. I packed away my things, tidied up my seat, and prepared myself for the adventure that lay ahead. Landing in a new place always fills me with a mix of excitement and curiosity, and this time was no different. The wheels touched down, and a wave of excitement washed over me. I had arrived. After navigating through the airport and collecting my luggage, I made my way to the taxi stand. The drive from the airport to my accommodation was my first real glimpse of the destination I had dreamed of visiting. The scenery was beautiful, with vibrant buildings, bustling streets, and a skyline dotted with historical architecture. As we drove, I couldn't help but imagine all the things I would do and see in the coming days. Arriving at the bed and breakfast, I was warmly greeted by the host, who showed me to my room. The room was cozy and inviting, with a view of a quaint street below. I took a moment to settle in, unpacking my things and freshening up after the journey. With my itinerary in hand, I was ready to start exploring. My first day's plan was to simply wander around, soak in the atmosphere, and get a feel for the place. Stepping out into the city felt like stepping into a new world. The sounds, smells, and sights were all so different from home, yet instantly captivating. I strolled through cobblestone streets lined with charming shops, cafes, and street vendors selling handmade crafts and local delicacies. The air was filled with the aroma of freshly baked bread and coffee, mingling with the distant sounds of street musicians playing soft melodies. It felt surreal, like a scene from a movie. One of the first places I visited was a local market. It was bustling with activity, full of vibrant colors and interesting items for sale. I wandered from stall to stall, admiring the fresh fruits, vegetables, and flowers on display. There were vendors selling artisan goods, from handcrafted jewelry to intricate pottery. I stopped at a small stand selling pastries, treating myself to a delicious, flaky pastry filled with cream. It was a simple pleasure, yet one that added to the joy of being in a new place. Next, I headed toward a historic landmark, one of the main attractions on my list. The architecture was breathtaking, with intricate carvings and towering spires that seemed to touch the sky. I joined a guided tour to learn more about the history and significance of the place. The guide shared fascinating stories about the landmark's origins, its cultural importance, and the events it had witnessed over the centuries. As I listened, I felt a deeper connection to the city and its rich heritage. After a morning of exploring, I decided it was time for lunch. I found a cozy restaurant with outdoor seating, perfect for people watching. I ordered a local specialty, eager to try the flavors unique to this region. The dish arrived, beautifully presented, and the first bite was bursting with flavor. There's something special about trying local cuisine in its place of origin. It makes the experience more authentic and memorable. In the afternoon, I continued my adventure, visiting a scenic viewpoint that offered a panoramic view of the city. The sight was breathtaking, a tapestry of rooftops, winding streets, and distant mountains under a clear blue sky. I spent some time there, just taking it all in, feeling grateful for the chance to experience such beauty. As the sun began to set, I returned to my bed and breakfast to freshen up and relax for a bit. After a full day of exploring, a short rest was just what I needed. In the evening, I had planned to attend a cultural performance showcasing traditional music and dance. It was held in an old theater with beautiful decor, adding to the ambience. The performance was captivating, with dancers in vibrant costumes and musicians playing instruments I had never seen before. The energy was contagious, and I felt a deep appreciation for the culture and artistry of the place. On my way back to my accommodation, I stopped by a small cafe for a cup of tea. The cafe was cozy, with dim lighting, warm decor, and soft music playing in the background. I sat by the window, reflecting on the day and savoring the peaceful moment. Traveling alone, I had the freedom to move at my own pace, to stop and linger whenever I wanted, and to fully immerse myself in the experience. The night was calm as I walked back through the quiet streets, with only the soft glow of street lamps lighting the way. Back at the bed and breakfast, I got ready for bed, already looking forward to what the next day would bring. Lying in bed, I felt a sense of contentment and accomplishment. Every detail of the day, the sights, sounds, and interactions had made the trip worthwhile. I fell asleep with a smile, eager for more adventures. Each day of the trip held something new, from exploring hidden alleyways to trying more local foods and meeting friendly locals who shared stories and recommendations. I discovered beautiful parks, enjoyed scenic boat rides, and even tried a cooking class where I learned how to make a traditional dish. The city was vibrant and full of life, and each experience added to the tapestry of memories I would take home. On my final day, I took some time to revisit a few of my favorite spots, savoring the moments one last time. I also picked up a few souvenirs, small tokens that would remind me of this wonderful place. As I packed my bags and prepared to leave, I felt a mix of emotions. Saying goodbye to a place that had given me so much joy was bittersweet, but I knew I would carry the memories with me. As the plane took off, I looked out the window one last time, watching as the city below faded into the distance. This trip had been everything I had hoped for and more. Traveling had not only allowed me to see new places, but had also taught me a lot about myself, about appreciating different cultures, and about the beauty of exploration. Returning home, I felt refreshed and inspired, already dreaming about where I might go next. This experience had opened my eyes to the endless possibilities that travel brings, and I couldn't wait for my next adventure.
Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, and share our channel Magic Mingle with your friends to enjoy more magical stories.